I never know how to start some of these videos. When I've got a clear idea of what I want to say, it's quite easy. But when it's something like this, I always struggle on figuring out the right way to start. So I just start, I suppose. The second ever manga that I read, properly read, like I scanned manga over the years and this and that, but the second one after Akira that I read fully and got to grips with fully was Pluto by Naoki Urasawa. Everyone always says just the one name, but it is other creators. There is Takahashi Nagasaki, who was his co-author on Master Keaton in many different volumes of that, but also supervised with the cooperation of Makoto Tezuka, which is the son of Osamu Tezuka, who created Astro Boy. Now, this is a collaboration with people who were no longer even on the planet by the time this collaboration came about. Osamu Tezuka died in, I think, 1989, but this story is one that's very close to Naoki Urasawa's inspirations and youth and everything, really. And that shines out. The love for the work of Tezuka shines massively in this series. There are 8 volumes of Pluto altogether. The English ones are mainly collected in these Viz signature editions, whereas slightly bigger than your standard size tankobon, but we'll get to that in a bit now. 2003 marks the year that this series was starting to be serialized in Japan. It would be quite a few years before, you know, the full complete story would be translated and available, but essentially, I thought, what a perfect time to look back on this work 20 years since the creation of it. There's great interviews and forewords in these books that outline the history and the ideas behind what inspired Pluto. That is one of the things that always fascinated me, is the origins of this book, because certainly Naoki Urasawa says in it quite clearly that when he was the age of 4 or 5, he was given a comic to read by his parents, and it was Osamu Tezuka's story, Astro Boy, the greatest robot on Earth, which you can find in this Dark Horse Omnibus version, Omnibus Volume 1, and it is the story of Astro Boy, who is a robot boy that was created to replace a son that had been killed in an accident. Fundamentally, this is very much a kind of kids comic with crazy high concepts, and I can almost guarantee that not long after doing this video, I'll be doing a video just on this one volume alone, because the ideas that Osamu Tezuka comes up with are mind-blowing. And the concept of the greatest robot on Earth is that a guy in the Middle East wanted to create a robot that dominated all other robots. He couldn't become the king of the world, so he decided that he would create the robot king of the world. And the way he wanted this robot to carry out his business is defeat the massively kind of impressive robots that already existed, demolish them, destroy them, take them out, and then become the king of the robots. And this was the first ever manga that Naoki Urasawa picked up and read. And instantly he would start copying the drawings that he saw. This was really that formative kind of book in his life and pushed him to create some of the most impactful and important manga that have ever existed in the art form. I mean, he is one of the top people in the industry. And so this book was him revisiting that story. The date of April 17th, I think 2003, was the fictional date within his original story that Astro Boy was created. And so they were planning on doing a few things to commemorate and celebrate that date. And they asked, or put it out, or put the feelers out there to see if Naoki Urasawa would want to take over and do a short story. But true to form, Naoki Urasawa did not take the easy road at all. What he envisaged was a more grown-up, mysterious take that fleshed out these kind of areas of that greatest robot on Earth story, that really went into detail of them, totally altered some of them, but really fleshed out this amazing kind of futuristic world where artificial intelligence and robot life was so advanced that you could barely tell human from robot. But it created so many different kind of philosophical ideas and all that type of thing that he really kind of went off on one to create a new interpretation of that story. And that's what Pluto is, essentially. Pluto in the original story was the robot that was made by that sultan in the Middle East to destroy all the other robots. And there are tons and tons of things in here that are almost identical to the original story, but then every single one of them is elongated and fleshed out in a really amazing way. I realised when I was editing this back that I wasn't as clear about the story as I would have liked. In fact, I would say that I was so excited to talk about this book on the 20th anniversary that I got carried away just picking up stuff that I like talking about that. So I'm going to interrupt the excited Chris and clarify the story, narrative and arc of Pluto very, very briefly. So basically, Pluto, the original story, starts off and it's very action based. It's literally Pluto going out and destroying the 7 most advanced robots the world has seen, and when he's killed them all, he is the king of the robots. What Naoki Urasawa does with Pluto is he turns it into a murder mystery. He explores the methods and ideas and people that are behind Pluto. So even if you know Pluto is the robot that's attacking these robots, that's not the be-all and end-all, because the real mystery is who created him. What was the ultimate purpose for his creation? Is it as simple as just taking out the 7 most advanced robots in the world? And all of that is layered into this very long and wonderful mystery by Naoki Urasawa, but it certainly still focuses on the fact that someone thinks that there is a serial robot killer out there that is out to kill all of the 7 most advanced robots. But the other thing that I failed to mention when I was excitedly talking is robots can't kill humans in the world of Pluto and Astro Boy. And so when the humans start being murdered as well, it brings up all these questions about how can it possibly be a robot, because robots fundamentally can't kill humans. And so you get that added mystery about, has someone designed a robot who can kill humans, or is there a human involved as well as Pluto? Who else is involved? And this whole layered mystery starts happening. So put aside the mysteries of the robots themselves, their past, their future, all of those things. Each robot has their own story arc, and each robot kind of has their own mystery in a way of their personality or their life, some far deeper and far longer over the series than others. And throughout it all, there's that mysterious backstory of what happened in the Middle Eastern war, which the excited Chris will tell you more about, I'm sure. But what happened in that Middle Eastern war and the effects of it, and did the events of that war impact what's happening now, and how much did it affect our main characters really, and change their perceptions and make them more human or less human. And so that was me trying to help the excited me be a bit more clear. I'll get back to him now. And so the 7 most strongest advanced robots are Mont Blanc, North 2, Brando, Gearhart in this, but Geist in this, Hercules, Epsilon, and then Astro Boy, who goes by the name of Atom in here. So Geist, who is on the front cover there, Atom is the Astro Boy in the story here. But it starts off with Mont Blanc being murdered, and then the mystery of who has killed this robot and why has he been decimated and destroyed. But on the same level as that, then scientists around the world started to be murdered as well. And the job of investigating these murders is given to Geist, who is a German advanced robot who works for the police, Interpol, or I don't know what they name it actually. It might be Interpol, it might be something else. But either way, he's investigating, and also he starts interviewing, and he starts to immediately see parallels and similarities between Mont Blanc's death and the death of these scientists. Both are kind of being marked with these horns that are very, very unique and different, and everybody's very confused as to what the hell is going on. And so he starts investigating, but instantly you see that Naoki Urasawa is fleshing the lives of these robots out far more than Tezuka ever did, because Tezuka would just look at them and then they'd fight and then they'd be gone and it was on to the next. This, on the other hand, fully fleshes them out. They give Geist a job, a wife, a life. He's even having bad dreams and nightmares about something that's happened in the past, which kind of forms this ongoing mystery for the whole story as to what are these images popping into his head when he is kind of, sleeping and things like that. And so that is one of the things that really marks it separate, and really I love about these books is the amount of time it spends developing the characters. And it turns out as the story goes on, it fleshes out this story far more, and it becomes a fundamental part of it, is that there was this war, the America, and keep in mind the time frame of when these books were printed with the Iraq War, is that there was robots of mass destruction, weapons of mass destruction, so robots that were essentially weapons of mass destruction and could be used to destroy countries. They were being developed in the Middle East, and so the country that is basically America in this story but named differently goes to war with them and takes them on, and sends in the most advanced team of robots. So sends in Geist, or Geist, however you pronounce it, sends in North 2, sends in Brando, sends in Hercules and all these other robots to defeat those armies. But those armies in the Middle East are robot armies as well, and so there's this amazing thing where robots are being sent to kill robots, but then they're feeling the aftermath of guilt and post-traumatic stress, and people are kind of thinking, well, that's not possible because they're artificial intelligence. But again, it's all about where the lines are and how far you've pushed this artificial intelligence, how much human you've made them, and not understanding then that if you make something that human, then they're going to have all the flaws of a human as well. The art in Pluto is amazing. It's typical Naoki Urasawa art, the fantastic artist that he is. He always seems to create these scenes that have just always got a forward motion to them, and that's one of the things I love about manga, is that even when you've got a conversation going back and forth, there seems to be a kind of kinetic energy pushing the scenes forward. They never seem static at all. And so for all the philosophical talk of, you know, artificial life versus, you know, human life and all that, it still pushes forward, and the mysterious elements of this keep you hooked right the way through. You visit different countries all around the world, visit different robots, different events happen, and every time you step forward, the mystery deepens and gets thicker and more world encompassing, and the stakes just keep rising. And similarly, like the original story, everything is kind of turned on its head in various points in the story. You think you know who the bad guys are, you think you know where the plot is going, you think you know what the characters are going to do, and then it keeps shifting and playing with it, and you keep following those characters and holding on as much as they do. And yeah, it is a fabulous read. I love this book so much. But the Viz signature editions are a little bit bigger than your standard size tankobons. They are not like sewn binding or anything like that. They're glue binding, standard paperback really, but they do come with nice French flaps. And the Viz signature editions, for my money, are some of the best quality manga you can get. Because even though the little slight size increase doesn't seem like much, it really does make a massive impact, I think. Because the slightly smaller tankobons, some of them, the art can get a bit muddied and mixed, but just a little bit more like these editions, and they really do shine, I think, and shine in a big way. They do have colour pages splattered throughout. If you've read Tezuka and you haven't read Naoki Urasawa, then get on Pluto. If you haven't read manga before, get on Pluto. If you want an interesting robot crime thriller story that is epic in scope and globe-trotting in scope, then Pluto is a perfect place to start. So happy 20th birthday, Pluto, whenever it was in 2003 you started coming out. But thank you very much for watching. I will catch you on the next one.